Story 1. I moved to this town to start over. Small, quiet, uneventful, just what I needed after the burnout and noise of the city. I was staying in a rental on the edge of town, tucked behind a row of sleepy houses and empty fields. Most mornings, I ran in the park nearby. It had a paved trail that looped twice through a wooded area. It wasn't much, but it helped clear my head. One morning, a little later than usual, I noticed something strange. At the far end of the trail, past the second loop, there was a small dirt path that broke away into the trees. I'd never noticed it before. It wasn't wide, and there were no signs marking it, but something about it pulled at me. Curiosity maybe, or boredom, or both. I figured I'd jog down it for a minute, see where it led, and double back. It started off normal enough. Just dirt and leaves and tall trees on either side. Then it curved, sharply, like a hook, and dipped into a quiet little valley. The air was cooler there. Still. Too still. I kept running. No phone service, no trail signs. But I wasn't worried. I had a good sense of direction, and I hadn't gone far. The path narrowed, then widened again. And I swear, this is when I started to feel it. The sound around me just stopped. No birds, no wind, just my breathing and the slap of my shoes on packed dirt. I slowed down and looked around. The trees looked wrong. Not dead, just too tall, too close, like they were leaning in. I turned back, but as I jogged back up the trail, it didn't feel familiar. I hadn't seen that weird pile of stones before, or that tree with the twisted bark. I stopped, turned around, kept walking slowly, scanning. The path still curved, still dipped, but everything else felt like it had shifted slightly, like someone had rearranged the forest just enough to throw me off. I wasn't panicking yet. Not really. Just annoyed at myself for being dumb. I kept walking, turning around every 100 feet. Nothing looked familiar. No sound. I checked my phone again. Still, no service. I turned around one last time, just in case I'd missed a branch or side path, and that's when I saw it. There was something standing on the trail behind me, far back, too far to see clearly, but I saw the shape, tall, still, watching. I blinked and it was gone. My heart started pounding. I picked up my pace, jogging again, then running. And the weirdest thing, the trail started to widen, brighten, as if it was leading me back out. I finally emerged from the woods right behind the parking lot. I didn't look back, just sprinted across the asphalt to my car. I went home, didn't mention it to anyone, just wrote it off as a bad decision, a weird illusion. I didn't run the next day, or the next, but on the third day, I went back. Same park, same trail. This time I told myself I'd ignore the strange path, just do my loop and go home. But when I got to that part of the trail, the fork, there was no path, just trees. Solid, unbroken woods, like nothing had ever been there. I stood there panting, heart pounding louder with each second. I know what I saw. I know where I ran. But now, it was just gone. I took a picture with my phone, went home, searched maps, nothing. Checked Google Earth, nothing but dense trees. That should have been the end of it, but it wasn't. The next week I had a dream. I was running through those woods again, but it was darker, colder, and behind me, I could hear something running too. Heavy steps, slow and steady. I never saw it in the dream, but I knew it was there. I could feel it breathing, watching. I woke up in a sweat, and my feet were dirty, caked in dried mud and pine needles, like I'd actually been outside. I checked my front door. It was locked. Deadbolt too. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. The next day, I drove to the park, just to be sure. I walked the trail, and there it was. The path again, the one that shouldn't exist. Clear as day, like it was waiting for me. I should have turned around. I should have called someone. I should have done anything but what I actually did, which was step back toward that path, as if it were some old friend I hadn't seen in years, like it was calling me by name. I stood at the entrance, my heartbeat thick in my ears, and the breeze, there actually was a breeze this time, pushed cold air from the path toward me. I looked down and saw the dirt was disturbed, not just from where I had walked before, but deeper, clawed into by something else, like dozens of hands had dragged themselves along the same way. I told myself it was deer, squirrels, anything but what it looked like, and then I stepped in. This time, the trees leaned closer, not metaphorically. I mean, they physically seemed to curve inward, like they'd changed since last time. The sky disappeared almost instantly, replaced by a thick canopy that blocked all light, and the silence, that unnatural, suffocating silence, it wrapped around me tighter than the cold. I started jogging, not fast, just enough to tell myself I wasn't scared, but every 10 steps or so, I had to glance behind me. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was following, never close enough to see, just close enough to feel. At one point, I thought I heard my name, whispered so softly I might have imagined it. Or maybe I didn't. I stopped, turned around. Nothing. Not a squirrel, not a leaf, not even a gust of wind, just the trees and the stillness. Then the air shifted. The scent. Damp soil, sure, but something underneath it, like rot. Not fresh, not an animal, just old, clinging to the back of my throat. I moved faster. The trail felt different again. It dipped steeply, almost like a staircase, leading me somewhere I didn't want to go. I came around a bend and stopped dead. There was something standing in the middle of the path. Human, or close enough to pass as one. Its back was to me. Tall, too tall, shoulders hunched and twitching slightly. I didn't speak, didn't move. I just stared. And then, slowly, it began to turn. Not its body, just its head. Unnaturally slow. It turned until its face, if that's what it was angled toward me. Hollow sockets, no eyes, no mouth. Just an empty shape where features should have been, like a mannequin left in the woods too long. I turned and ran. Hard. My breath burned. The air felt heavier with each step, like the path itself was resisting me. I swear it stretched. I got longer. The more I ran, the trees blurred. Shadows flickered between trunks. Something was chasing me. I knew it now, not imagined, not dreamt. I could feel the vibration in the ground behind me, the sound of breath that wasn't mine. I didn't scream. I couldn't. My voice was gone. I just ran until the trees cracked open, and I stumbled into sunlight again. I collapsed just outside the park's tree line, gasping, shaking, and when I looked back, the path was gone. Again. I went home, didn't tell anyone, but that night, I dreamed again. This time, I wasn't alone. That same figure stood beside my bed, watching, not moving, just staring with that blank face. When I woke up, my window was open. From the inside, the screen was removed. My shoes were wet. I hadn't left. I swear, I hadn't. But my feet were muddy, my ankles scratched, and I had leaves tangled in my hair. It kept happening. Every few nights. Dreams that felt more like memories. Dirt under my nails when I woke. A smell on my clothes I couldn't place. I set up a camera in my bedroom, just to prove I wasn't crazy. The next morning, the camera was on the floor, battery drained. The footage? Static, except for one frame, a single image. My bed, me asleep, and something, tall, dark, featureless, standing just inside the room. I left town the next day. I tried to move on, found a new place, a new trail, but every so often, in the back of my mind, I feel it again. That cold breeze, that silence, like it never really let me go, like it's still waiting for me to run again. Story 2. There's a jogging route near my hometown that used to be part of an old farm road. Most people avoid it now. They say it's too quiet, too isolated, but I liked it. It runs straight between two massive cornfields, and when you're out there early in the morning, before the sun is all the way up, the whole world feels still, peaceful, or at least it used to. I started using that route because I hated crowded parks and concrete paths. I liked being alone. I liked the crunch of the gravel under my shoes, the way the fog hugged the ground just before sunrise. It felt like I had the whole world to myself. The first time I saw him, I thought he was just another jogger. He was standing at the far end of the trail where it bends around the edge of the cornfield, just standing there, not stretching, not walking, not looking at a phone, just facing me, still. I waved like an idiot. No response. Then I blinked, and he was gone. I figured maybe he stepped off into the cornfield or turned back while I wasn't looking. Whatever. Weird, but not unexplainable. A few days later, I saw him again. Same spot, same posture, same eerie stillness. This time he was closer. I slowed down. Something about him felt wrong. He was wearing a hoodie with the hood pulled over his head, even though it was already hot that morning. I couldn't see his face. He didn't move, not even a twitch, until I reached the halfway point. Then he took one step forward. I froze. He didn't say anything, just stood there, watching. I turned and jogged back the way I came. I didn't look behind me until I got to the road. When I finally glanced back, the trail was empty. I stopped using the cornfield route for a while, tried different roads, parks, gyms, but none of them felt right. They were too crowded or too boring. After a few weeks, I convinced myself I'd imagined it. Maybe it was just a creepy hiker or a local being weird. I told myself I wouldn't stop running because of someone else's strange behavior, so I went back. I told myself I'd only run the route during daylight, not early mornings. I brought pepper spray, a whistle, and even turned on location tracking for my phone. I thought I was prepared. I thought I was being smart. The third time I saw him, he wasn't at the end of the trail. He was standing in the cornfield, maybe 15 feet off the path, just there, half hidden between the stalks. His face was still covered, but I could tell he was watching me. I kept jogging, slower this time. My heart was pounding harder than the pace should have allowed. I gripped my pepper spray tightly and pretended not to notice. But then I heard it, footsteps behind me, slow, deliberate, crunching gravel in rhythm with mine, just offbeat enough to be noticeable. I glanced back. No one. I stopped. The footsteps stopped too. That's when I knew it wasn't just my imagination. I started running faster. Not a full sprint, but close. The trail felt longer than usual, like the end kept moving further away no matter how hard I pushed. When I finally reached the bend near the road, I turned sharply, and there he was, standing in the middle of the path, close, too close. I skidded to a stop. My lungs burned. My brain screamed at me to run, but he didn't move. He just tilted his head slightly like he was studying me. I could see his eyes now, pale, wide, unblinking, like he'd been staring into the sun too long. I raised the pepper spray and yelled, "Leave me alone!" No response. Just that same creepy stare. I took a step back. He took a step forward. That broke me. I turned and ran as fast as I could, off the trail and through the field, tearing through the corn like it was made of paper. My legs were scratched. My face was bleeding from where leaves whipped me, but I didn't care. I just needed to get away. I didn't stop until I hit the gravel road on the other side of the field, near a farmhouse. I collapsed in their driveway, breathless, shaking, covered in cuts. The old couple who lived there let me in. Called the police. I told them everything. The cornfield, the man, the stalking. The cops searched the trail, found my shoe prints, found broken stalks, but no man, no footprints, nothing. They said maybe it was a squatter. Maybe I imagined it. But I know what I saw. I know what followed me. And I know he's still out there, waiting in that field, watching. I haven't gone back since. But sometimes I swear I hear footsteps when I jog anywhere near that direction. Always just behind me. Always just out of sight. I tried to put it behind me. I told myself I was done with that trail forever. I deleted my running apps, threw out the shoes I wore that day, and switched to indoor workouts. It helped for a while. Weeks passed. No footsteps behind me. No nightmares. I started to believe maybe that man, whatever he was, had just been some lunatic, and I was lucky to get away. Then one morning, I got an email. No subject line, no sender name, just a single image attached. I opened it without thinking. It was a photo of me, running, on the cornfield trail. It wasn't a selfie. It wasn't from a distance. It was taken from the side of the path, right where the corn meets the gravel, right where he'd been standing. The timestamp on the photo matched the morning I saw him in the corn. My heart felt like it stopped. I checked the metadata. Location matched the trail. The angle meant whoever took it was right there, watching me. I stared at that picture for 10 minutes trying to figure out what to do. I called the cops again. They traced the email to a burner account and couldn't track it further. No fingerprints, no clues. Just that photo. Just proof I hadn't imagined any of it. I changed all my passwords, got a new phone, stayed indoors. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling I was being watched. Weeks later, I was at the grocery store parking lot. Broad daylight, dozens of people around. But when I looked across the lot, standing between two parked trucks, I saw him again. Hoodie, same posture, facing me, not moving, just watching. He was closer than before, closer than he should have been. I blinked and he was gone. I didn't even finish shopping, just left the cart there and drove off. That night, I didn't sleep. Every creak in the house made me sit upright. Every shadow looked like a figure. I didn't hear footsteps. Not that night. But I woke up to something worse. Another email. This time with two photos. One of my inside my house, on my couch watching television. The other side of my bedroom window taken from outside. I felt sick. Violated. I called the police again, begged them to come. They searched the property. No signs of forced entry. No prints. Nothing. The officer asked if I had a stalker. Someone I knew. I said no, but I don't know anymore. Maybe I do. Maybe he's always been watching, just waiting for me to notice. I set up cameras, floodlights, alarm systems. Still, I never feel safe. One night, one of the cameras caught something. Just a flicker. A figure in the distance. On the edge of the yard, standing still, then gone. I started losing my mind. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. I left town for a week, thinking maybe distance would help. But the day I got to the hotel, there was an envelope at the front desk. No return address. Inside, just one thing. A photo of me standing at the hotel check-in counter. It wasn't security cam footage. It was taken with a phone. Up close. Someone had been standing right behind me, watching. I broke down, went to the police again, this time in another state, filed reports, got nothing. They told me it was probably a prank. I started to wonder if I was going crazy. Maybe this guy wasn't real. Maybe I was just losing it. Then, the last thing happened. The thing that made me leave everything behind. It was around 3 a.m. I was up again, sitting in my kitchen with all the lights on. My phone dinged. Another email. No message, just a video file. I hesitated but opened it. The footage was grainy, shaky. It showed my house, my backyard. The video moved forward slowly, like someone walking with a phone in their hand. Past the fence, toward my back door, through the glass. I could see myself sitting in my kitchen, on the phone, talking to a friend. I watched in horror as the figure raised his other hand. On his wrist was a bracelet, one I'd lost weeks ago, one I hadn't even realized was missing. The camera moved closer to the door, inches away. Then it cut to black. I ran out of the house that night, drove until sunrise, left everything behind, moved 3 states away. I never go jogging anymore. I live in a high-rise now, surrounded by people, cameras, guards. But sometimes, just sometimes, when I look out my window at night, I swear I see someone across the street, standing still, in a hoodie, staring up, just watching, always watching. Story 3. It was a Friday night in late October, the kind of night when the air feels too still and the sky too dark. My friend Amy always jogged around the neighborhood at 8 p.m. sharp. She was the kind of person who never broke a routine. I remember teasing her once, saying she was like a human alarm clock. That Friday, she left her house at 8:01 p.m. She never came back. I lived a few houses down. Around 8:45, I heard sirens in the distance, getting louder. It didn't take long before police cars pulled into the park entrance. That park had a 3-mile loop that cut through a wooded section. It was popular, but always gave me the creeps after sunset. Amy didn't scare easily though. She jogged that loop hundreds of times. That night, someone called 911 because they heard screaming. Loud, panicked, short-lived screaming. By 9:10, there were searchlights and dogs. I ran down there in a hoodie and slippers, trying to make sense of what I was seeing. Amy's parents were already there. Her mom crying, her dad pacing like he was going to explode. I asked one of the officers what was happening, and he said, "We found her phone and shoe, but she's not here." That sentence never stopped echoing in my head. The idea that someone could vanish in a loop trail, one way in and one way out, surrounded by homes and lights and people.it, didn't add up. The police combed the area for hours. They brought in helicopters, heat-sensing drones, everything. But no trace of Amy. Not a single footprint past the mud where her shoe was found. No drag marks. No blood. It was like she stepped into another dimension. I couldn't sleep that night. Around 3 a.m., I pulled up our neighborhood Facebook group. That's when I saw a post that made my skin crawl. A man had posted, "Did anyone else see a tall figure, in all black, walking along Elm Creek, around 8:30 tonight? He wasn't running, just standing in the tree line watching people jog by." The comments lit up. At least 5 other people said they saw him. One even tried to speak to him, but he turned and walked back into the woods. I recognized that username.it belonged to a girl who walked her dog every evening. I messaged her directly. She told me she passed Amy on the trail just before the trees started. Amy smiled and said hi like always. The man had been about 50 yards into the trees, motionless, like a statue. She said she had a bad gut feeling and turned around early. Police followed up on that tip, but nothing came from it. No fingerprints, no cameras pointed that way. No one matching that description in the area. That was the last anyone saw or heard of Amy. Days turned into weeks. The park was closed for nearly a month. Her family was devastated. I kept thinking if she had just jogged 10 minutes earlier, maybe nothing would have happened. Or maybe it still would have. One night, maybe 2 months later, I was walking my dog near the same trail. It was about 6 p.m., just dark enough for streetlights but not pitch black. My dog froze, started growling at something ahead. I squinted and saw someone standing at the entrance to the woods, not moving, just like the stories. All black, no face I could see, no sound. I turned around and walked the long way home, my heart racing. I couldn't shake the thought, what if he was waiting for someone else? The following morning, I called Amy's mom. She broke down on the phone and told me something she hadn't told the cops. The night before Amy disappeared, she had a nightmare so vivid she screamed herself awake. She kept saying, "He's waiting for me," over and over again, but refused to talk about it. She brushed it off later and said she didn't even remember what it was about. I didn't know what to do with that. What do you do when your friend dreams of something, then disappears in the exact way they feared. The police eventually closed the case as an unresolved disappearance, but everyone in the neighborhood knew better. Amy wasn't the type to run away. She wasn't struggling. She wasn't depressed. She was fine. Until that night. I sometimes wonder if that man in black is still out there, in the tree line, waiting for someone else, or if Amy somehow knew her time was up. Either way, it changed the way I see that trail forever. I haven't set foot on it since, and I don't think I ever will. 3 years passed. The park was renovated, new lights installed, and a memorial bench placed near the trail entrance in honor of Amy. People jogged again, but there was always a shadow over that place. You could feel it, like the trees themselves remembered what happened. I still lived in the same house, and not a week went by that I didn't think of her. But life kept moving. Until one cold March morning, I found something in my mailbox that made my blood run cold. No postage, no return address, just a small yellow envelope, slightly crumpled. Inside was a photo. It was blurry, clearly taken at night, but in the center of the frame, just beyond the tree line at Elm Creek Trail, stood a figure, tall, all black. His face was completely obscured. On the back of the photo, scrawled in red marker, were the words, "She saw me too." I dropped the photo and locked my door. I checked every window twice. Then I called the police, again. They took the photo, dusted it for prints, and found nothing. Not a smudge. The detective assigned to the case didn't seem surprised. He told me, "You're not the first to get something like this." Apparently, 2 other women who used to jog that loop also received anonymous photos in the past year. Same blurry figure, same chilling captions. One read, "Next time, look behind you." The other said, "Why did you stop running?" I didn't know what scared me more, that someone was watching from those woods, or that they remembered who had been there years ago. A few nights later, I woke up to the sound of my dog barking like crazy. It was 2:13 a.m. He was at the back door, growling low, tail stiff. I peeked out through the blinds. There was no one in my yard, but across the street, right at the edge of the sidewalk, was a figure, not moving, not pacing, just standing. I couldn't see the details, just the shape, tall, motionless. I closed the blinds and backed away, heart pounding so hard it felt like my rib cage would crack. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't sleep the next night either. I started carrying pepper spray, then a knife. Then I bought a taser. I stopped jogging, walking, even sitting outside. One afternoon, while cleaning out my garage, I found a box I hadn't opened in years. It was full of old photos, souvenirs, and high school junk. At the bottom was something I forgot existed. Amy's old hoodie. She left it at my house once after a movie night. I held it like it was some sacred thing, and then something slipped out from the folded fabric. A tiny notebook, spiral bound. Her handwriting. It was her dream journal. Most of it was normal, boring dreams. But the last few pages were different. Dark. One entry read, "He's always near the trees. He never moves until I pass, and once I look at him, he smiles." Another, a few days before her disappearance, said, "I think he's getting closer. I can't stop seeing him, even when I'm awake. Last night I heard my name in my sleep, over and over, like a whisper made of nails. I read every word, my skin crawling until the final page. It was written the night before she vanished. If I don't come back tomorrow, it's because I finally saw his face, and I think he recognized mine." I brought the notebook to the police. They took it seriously this time, especially with the photo. But what could they do? They couldn't arrest a shadow. They increased patrols. For a while, it helped. Then one evening, the news broke that a college student had gone missing while jogging that same loop. Same time, same place. Her phone was found near the bench. Her last text sent at 8:02 p.m. said, "There's someone watching me." I left town the next month, rented a cabin 3 hours away. I needed distance, space to breathe. But even now, every time I go for a walk, I feel watched. I've never seen his face. Maybe that's why I'm still here. But I know he's real, and I know what he does. He waits. And when you see him, really see him, he follows, whether you're awake or dreaming.